Hey everybody, it's Dr. Will Plugarin, and I am the implementation specialist here at Thinking Nation. And I want to thank you so much for joining me today to talk about the Curated Research Papers, or the CRPs. And you're going to see this language here a lot on our website and on different documents that we share. Now, where did this name come from? I want to go back and kind of explain that about a year and a half ago, Thinking Nation went through a rebranding. We not only looked at the different colors and logos that we were using on our website and all our papers, but we also looked at some of the language. And so here's an example of the logo change that we made. Interestingly enough, if you look at this T, I love this. This had to be pointed out to me, but here's the T and here's the N for Thinking Nation. So very cool logo that captures the essence of Thinking Nation. But another thing that we did was change the language. The document-based question is language associated with the College Board, and we wanted to change it and brand it unique to Thinking Nation. So we began using essentially what they are, they're curated research papers. But just understand that it's the language that is appearing here. But if you're familiar with the DBQs made by the College Board, then you're familiar with the curated research papers and the structure of the summative assessments. Now, that's where I want to talk today about. There are a lot of questions about the curated research papers and their role in Thinking Nation's mission to shift the paradigm of social studies education. So I want to explain it. Now, in another video, we talked about the formatives and the role that the formatives play in supporting the summatives. And I've been watching the Olympics for the last 2 weeks. Today's the last day of the Olympics, so you can probably date this video here. But the formatives and the summatives play a supplemental role. They work together in conjunction to support each other. And the idea is that the formatives hand off the work and set up the success of the summatives. Now, I want to start off with an example. Let's say I was hired to teach swimming. And I come up with a goal where my students are, I want my students to be able to swim a 50-meter freestyle unassisted. That means they're able to do everything that they need to do in order to swim 50-meter freestyle on their own. So the very first thing as a teacher that I would do is break down what skills do I need to teach. And I need to teach them how to float on water, how to streamline when they dive in, how to come up from under the pool after the dive, how to breathe sideways during the freestyle, and how to do all that while they're kicking and moving their arms in a freestyle manner. So I would have to break this down into skills, and all these skills here would become my formative assessments. And if I successfully teach each of these skills, even if students struggle with one of the skills, at least I'm working towards setting them up for success on the summative. So similarly, this is what we're doing here at Thinking Nation. We have the formatives, which are the things sheets that I made in another video that promote historical thinking skills. The formative assessments, which focus on specific historical thinking skills and are graded by our platform using AI. And then we have the summatives, the way the students show what they've learned, this kind of final goal here. And we have Socratic seminars, which I'll talk about in another video, and the curated research papers. The goal of these are to do 2 to 3 a year, and these can be done on our platform, and they're graded and feedback is provided to you and the student, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. So I wanted to emphasize this point that the formatives are, if we're working on the formatives consistently, then we are setting up the summatives, the students up for success on the summatives. Now, the research papers, the curated research papers are set up in a similar manner. They're all aligned to a historical thinking skill. You have the prompt, and then you have the students write in their own words what the prompt means. So each CRP is aligned to a historical thinking skill, and you see this little visual here. At Thinking Nation, we have 10 historical thinking skills that are targeted. All the CRPs are targeted towards most of these, not all of them yet, but most of these. And but the formatives are targeted towards all of these. And so the goal is that if you're consistently working on this historical thinking skills, the students are able to show these skills in the curated research papers. Additionally, the curated research papers begin with an overview and a historical connection for the students. They also have a day-by-day timeline of implementation. So it says, this isn't something that can be done in one day. It takes various days to work up to the students writing the CRP. And so here in every research paper, every curated research paper, we have a timeline of implementation for the teachers. And finally, we have all our CRPs are effectively aligned to a rubric that's included. And the rubric is what's used to assess the historical thinking skill, among other things. And it also shows the writing mechanics, things like the use of textual evidence, the purpose, argumentation, and other skills like that. Now, each CRP also includes a combination of documents. So it's some are visual documents, some are primary source documents, secondary source, and the students are able to go through these documents in the CRPs. And then finally, I am going to make a video just about this because it's more comprehensive than just this snippet that I took. But on our platform, on our Thinking Nation platform, the CRPs you see there are separated by different types of history, ancient history, world history, U.S. history, and so on. And they can be assigned to the students, and then the students see them on their platform. And my goal is to make a video on how all that looks. But once you assign it, then the students can begin working on it. So here we have the formative stinks, formative assessments, the CRPs, the curated research papers, and we're working on adding the Socratic seminars. Now, I go back to this point, and I'm going to touch this in another video because I'm trying to keep all these videos under 10 minutes. And this one's just specifically about the curated research paper, but this is aligned to best practices and the best practice of backwards planning. So, the very first step in backwards planning that's essential to student learning is identifying the results. So our result here is that we want students to be able to write a curated research paper on a specific topic. We determine the acceptable evidence of learning, and we plan learning exercises and instruction around that. And I'm going to talk about how you can look at this, a curated research paper, one of these, and really plan your class backwards and begin organizing the sort of things you're going to teach to your students and how you're going to organize your instruction. Lastly, this is a huge leap. And here at Thinking Nation, we believe in positively using AI to transform the social studies education. AI is a positive at Thinking Nation. And one of the best things that it does is it helps us provide specific targeted feedback to students. So here's an example of the rubric that the students would see after they write their curated research papers. They would be able to see how they scored on the writing mechanics. You see here how many points are possible. And you see the historical thinking skill, the different historical thinking skills being assessed. And then finally, they would have a score 10 out of 10. The teacher's able to review not only the essay itself, but this score, and you can override it, but AI is able to grade it and provide that feedback for teachers and students on these historical thinking skills. So to summarize, here's the tiers of implementation. We have our formatives, which I talk about in another video, and which I'll link here in the description. And then we have our summatives, and today we talked about the CRPs. So I want to thank you for joining me today, and I hope everybody's having a great day. Bye, everybody.